Alright, so hard apple cider time. Time of year to buy good apple juice. This one is an unfiltered. Make sure when you're buying your apple juice that it doesn't have any kind of sulfur products in it to preserve it, any kind of preservatives. This is literally just apple juice that is pasteurized, nothing else. So you can just add the yeast and the yeast nutrient, which is diammonium sulfate and phosphate, to this. Basically, it gives the yeast kind of a boost to it. But I want the alcohol content higher.
What was that? A little bit higher?
A little bit higher. So I'm actually just going to add 1 cup of barking sugar.
Barking sugar?
Actually, we're going to do like a...
1 cup of barking sugar?
Yeah. You heard the barking. It's to each one of these. So it's actually about 3/4 of a cup. Can't really fit a whole cup in here, which I'm good with that. It's just gonna bring the alcohol content up a little bit. Now, if you want this really dry, by all means, let this sucker ferment for a month or so. Let it suck out all the sugars from it. Yeah, bring your alcohol content up. Or you can have a little bit sweet and pull it a little bit early.
What you got there?
So this is the diammonium phosphate, which is a yeast nutrient. Oh,
Cool.
so 1 teaspoon per gallon. So these are gallon jugs.
You said 1 teaspoon?
1 teaspoon per gallon, and that goes for when you're doing 5 gallons, 20 gallons, 100 gallons. It's still 1 teaspoon per.
Was that a teaspoon?
Hmm. That's an old school. That thing is ancient.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. It does say teaspoon.
All right.
Teaspoon.
So one of these is going to be just regular old apple cider, nothing fancy added to it. One's going to be just cinnamon apple cider, and the other one's going to be a mulled apple cider with spider.
Apple spider?
Apple spider.
I don't like
I
spiders.
ain't drinking it yet. So it's going to have allspice berries in it, cinnamon, and clove. So I'll do the first one with the spices in it. Clove is very powerful.
How many cloves?
I'm putting 2.
2 cloves.
2. Allspice berries, 3.
3 allspice berries.
Literally. 1. Dos.
All right then.
And this one. 1 soda stick.
All right.
This one, I want it to be a little more cinnamon.
Cool.
So we're going to put 2 in that one.
Cool.
So the yeast I'm using is a Premier Blanc. You can get an alcohol content up to around 18 to 22 depending, but typically tops out at about 15. And depends on your feeding cycle. You can do some nutrient feeds and stuff like that throughout a top tray feeds, but I'm not doing all that mess.
What was that?
I'm not doing all that mess. So this is gonna be as simple as it gets. So 1 pack, this can go for a 5-gallon bucket or 6-gallon carboy. So for these 3, I'm basically just gonna split it up between the 3. And you can see the exact measurements that I'm doing.
Those are very exact.
I mean, this is like science and stuff.
Wow.
I mean, Bill Nye would be proud.
I think that one might be a bit short.
No, I think it's just perfect.
Okay.
So at this point, this is going to be shaky, shaky, shake.
Oh.
Get the yeast.
Okay.
Cool.
Part 2.
Part 2. So I just shook all these up. You can actually make a simple syrup and add the sugars and all that crap to it with the simple syrup, which adds a little bit of water to it. Excuse me. It brings up your volumes, decreases your alcohol
These are
content.
Premier Dollar General party balloons.
So super fancy airlock.
It's a party.
So this goes on. Take a knife or a balloon, or a knife or a pair of scissors. Pop a hole in it. Literally just a little tiny slice hole.
Oh, there it was.
So the gas can't escape. It doesn't blow up like a balloon because the CO2 in this would blow it up. The cheapest airlock on the planet. So I got a bag of 20 of these for $1. So we'll let these ferment for a week or two. They'll chill out in a nice warm place, around 70 degrees or so in the closet there. And then after that, we'll test them. Not doing a hydrometer reading. I don't care what the alcohol content is. I'm not concerned. It's gonna be a little spicy. If I was gonna take a hydrometer reading, now would be the time to take a hydrometer reading. So you get your initial and then you get your finished to find out what the alcohol content is, but don't care. Like I said, you can let it go for longer to become dry, let it eat all the sugars. You can pull it early, bottle it up, put it in the fridge and stop the process and kind of slow it down. Not really stop it, but slow it down. What I'm gonna do with these, and a couple of these, is I'm actually gonna bottle them, let them ferment a little longer. I'm gonna back sweeten them a little bit, let them ferment a little longer in the bottles to get carbonation. And then I'm gonna pasteurize them to kill the yeast. So that's gonna be in basically a canning pan that is off the bottom, so you're not actually touching, and it's 180 degree water. You put your bottles in there and pour the water in. You put them in at 180 degrees. As long as your bottles are room temp, you shouldn't have the thermal shock. It should be okay. But you put in a bottle with water, same kind of bottle of water, in the same canning with it, with a thermometer. And that when that one reaches 140 degrees, when the yeast dies, basically, then you're good to go. You're pasteurized. The fermentation stops, CO2 production stops. You're not going to have a bunch of glass bombs sitting around in your fridge, which this is water kefir, mint kefir that's been sitting for a very long time. You got to be careful with it gassing out. Yes, that's scary because these have been sitting for quite a while.
Dude.
This one especially.
Oh.
You're safe. Whew. Little pucker factor. But those can actually blow up. We've had them blow up in the house before. But if you're using the proper bottles, typically you're not going to have the problem. These Garshock bottles, they are made for this purpose, for high pressure. The flip top lids typically will release before the bottle blows. Doesn't mean that the bottles don't have imperfections and they can't go. So I'll put these in the closet, let them do their thing for a couple weeks, and go in there and taste them and see where they're at. If we like it, then we'll go ahead and bottle them up. Put roughly half a teaspoon or so of sugar back in the bottles to give them their carbonation. Let them do a second ferment, carbonate up real heavy, and then go ahead and pasteurize them, and then they're good for shelf storage or storage in the fridge and good to drink. Other than that, very simple hard apple cider. So I think these were $8 a piece, $9 a piece. Also, I get the glass bottle. Excuse me. So now we can ferment other things in these. I gotta buy some more lids, and actually you can buy the corks for these if you want, or the ones with the holes in it. You actually put a bubbler in them, but this works just fine. So there you go, folks. Very simple. So have fun. Get drunk at home on your own made stuff. A lot cheaper that way. And you know what's going into it. So stay happy.
Stay happy.